4, 3.
Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, as always with me as I swallow my own words. My hetero life mate, all my feelings. How are you doing, sir?
Better than you Jewish elf? What is going on over there?
Grew up on this Jewish guy, but what is the Reel McCoy, you might ask? The Reel McCoy is a weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go and watch a movie, watch it, come back to us, and we geek out and we spin it all around, break it down for you, and just geek out on the movie itself. Today, we've got a special movie, The Two Towers, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. And to help us out, dive into this, is our good friend, Stone Loki. How are you doing, sir?
People say I have long intros. No, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me back. Thank you for it's an honor. It's an honor to be back talking about Lord of the Rings and Two Towers. This is great.
Of course. Right. Before we start getting to this whole bit and shingamabob, please, Loki, tell us, what are you doing? What do you have going on? Do it right now and promote yourself.
Well, we got a morning show every 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And that's been going on for 4 years. We have our 4-year anniversary coming up on January 3rd. It will have been 4 years to the day that we started Mornings of Mischief. The channel started earlier than that, but this is when things really started kind of growing and getting into a stable atmosphere, I guess you could call it, that we had. It's great. So yeah, and we've got a cool Friday night show. If you guys like Friday night shows after Friday Night Tights, we've got a late show with my good buddy Snowdub. We've been doing that for a couple weeks. So yeah, come on by, hang out.
Awesome. And of course, all the description, all the links to everywhere that Loki is in the description down below. Everywhere you need to find him, Twitter, X, all that good stuff. Please send him a sub, send him a follow, send him anything you like, because it is a lot of fun. If you want to get yourself going on a Monday morning, Loki's the guy for you. You've got also a morning block that you started. So Snowdub starts before you. You do your show, then you drop off to Machini Draws. This all throughout the morning, which is a lot of fun and kind of fills everybody's getting themselves pumped up for work or whatever they're doing. Was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of
We kind of forward everybody in the chats over to each other's channels. Snowdub's a great guy. He's been working his butt off and is doing a cup of Joe with Snow. And then you get your mornings of mischief, and then you get Mockney draws right after mine. So yeah, it's great to be a part of that team.
nice.
Yeah.
All right, to the movie in question, Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. Feelings. How many times did you manage to watch the extended cut this week? Please tell me it's just the one.
3 times.
You are a crazy individual.
Hey, I told you I was gonna do proper notes on this. A lot of it's talking about how Eowyn's just thirsty, but
And you don't have to have notes for this. So if you got notes, that's awesome.
yeah, well, I do have a page and a half of notes, and most of it's just like, oh my god, a lot of this.
Nice.
There's some pacing issues in this film that I have problems with, but
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
discuss those.
Loki, I know you don't need to, but did you manage to watch it this week?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Think.
What do you think? So I got to watch it twice. I watched it once Wednesday, and I got to watch it again this morning. So yeah, it's great. It's great. We're ready. We are ready.
I'm gonna try to reserve my negative opinions because Loki's got a sword now. So. Oh shit, Mef's got a sword too. So I love this movie. It has no flaws. See you next week.
Hey. All right. So I watched it this week only once. Managed to watch it with my wife. Normally she doesn't watch these things with me, although she is not opposed to watching Lord of the Rings. Yeah, she got me all my Lord of the Rings shit. I do have my ring that I will reveal not next week, but in a couple of weeks from now. But yeah, I'm full of that. That's probably the only things that I got when it comes to like memorabilia and all that stuff. So yeah, it's fun stuff. Again, rewatching it just every single moment hit when it needed to hit, and it was just fun. Let's say hello to the chat with Base Brooks and probably a few more because I can see you lurkers out there. I love you all. Let's get started with the first segment of the night. It is called Behind the Screens.
Action, take 2.
Behind the Screens is where we talk about everything that is production-wise, behind the scenes, everything that it has to do with the Two Towers. Now, we've covered a lot last time when we did the Fellowship, kind of stuff that bled over to this, so we'll be a little bit more specific with what we're covering. And I cough.
Oh, and also, Loki, I know that you are such a huge fan. I know that you probably have some other things. Please chime in at anything that Mef does not mention. Because for me, this is Mef's show.
Oh yeah.
He loves the Token so much. I'm like, Mef, this is all you, buddy.
Yeah, we've got some stuff. Anyway, Andy Serkis. He was pitched the role of Gollum by his agent. Initially, it was supposed to be just a voiceover character, but they loved how he did his audition. He was very animated during the audition. So Peter Jackson said, "Why don't you come in and do sort of when we have a few moments where when we have Frodo and Sam kind of working out the scene, so you can just be a stand-in." Turns out he was really good at it, so they just got him a mocap suit, a very special mocap suit, and some of the scenes actually played there in front of Elijah Wood and Sean Astin.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Loki. You might know this too. Just sorry, as a quick interjection, this is also the reason why he got the role to play the titular lead in the new Planet of the Apes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he actually does. He does the entire mocap for.
Andy Serkis. Yes. Yes. This is why he got to be Caesar. Yeah. This is why he got to be Caesar. This is what got him the role of Caesar in Planet of the Apes.
Nice. So Andy Serkis does have a rock climbing hobby, which came in handy because he not only did upwards sort of climbing, but he was kind of climbing as he was moving along on all 4 feet. It kind of helped him to get into that. Andy Serkis based Gollum as a heroin addict. That's how he envisioned the character. So sort of that inner monologue wasn't technically in the script. It was in somewhat, but we did say in the when we talked about the Fellowship that the script was written basically daily. So there's a lot of changes, and Peter Jackson and Fran and Boyne got a lot of inspiration from the actors and their feedback. So they just hastily written in a few more things. So he kind of became this heroin addict because of his lust for the ring. He drank bottles of what they called Gollum juice, which is a mixture of honey, lemon, and ginger to keep doing the voice as he did.
Oh, to lubricate his throat enough?
Drained his vocal cords.
Yeah.
Nobody likes you.
Well, that's actually that's a trick that most actually like death metal singers will utilize. You get that good vocal growl. Yeah.
So because Gollum was fully CGI'd, and sometimes he had to put the CGI on top of Andy Serkis, rendering Gollum took about 6 hours per one shot. So what Weta, the people who did these the effects, would do was just leave it rendering overnight and check the results in the morning. But every once in a while, because computers, they had a glitch. So one morning, they woke up, they saw the entire shot, and apparently instead of the hair going down, it was just sticking up straight up in the air for Gollum, which was
So you're saying his hair did a T-pose?
yeah, full on like gremlins, that thing.
No, so he looked like Loki. You know this one, the '80s trolls with the hair up. Like
Yeah.
Loki knows. Mephisto knows. Holy hell. I was a part of the trolls craze back in the day. I had female classmates. Holy shit.
That had them on their desks. Oh, they'd like come in and they'd line them up on the front of their desks. And then they took them to work once they got out of high school and they lined them up on front of their desk at work.
And it's surprising that Trolls has 3 movies and they're all successful. Anyway,
I mean, he's not wrong.
and it also voices for a few of the orcs that are arguing outside of the Fangorn forest. The scenes in where they're in Isengard. So you don't see you don't see them up close. You see them from afar, but the voices are Andy Serkis as well. When Gollum is singing and slapping that fish just before he gets captured by Faramir and his group, that song came from Andy Serkis as well. Right. That's all the Andy Serkis stuff I have. Bernard Hill.
The pool is fresh and sweet, and is banging a fish.
Juicy sweet.
So Bernard Hill, who was Theoden, was originally considered for the role of Gandalf, along with many others. But
Should have still been Christopher Lee, but
he would spend about 9 hours in makeup when he was his old self.
Oh, the gaunt face, yeah.
Wearing sort of like milky contacts, but Peter Jackson decided they're still not milky enough, so they actually added in CGI milk to the eyes later in post-production. His famous line about parents shouldn't bury their children actually came from a conversation that he had in Glasgow with this woman he saw putting up posters or something because of like something about dead children and charity and stuff. And she told him that line, and he kind of stuck in his head, and he brought it to the role many years later, by the way. And of course, we can't, we have to talk about injuries. So Bernard Hill actually cracked his sternum while riding the horse because he was riding with that breastplate.
Yeah, no, that's I tell you, you're not sitting up, you're not doing sit-ups, you're not sitting up and getting out of bed, you're rolling out of bed. It's one of the most painful injuries if you've ever had one.
Yeah,
is that cracked sternum, because everything is, even breathing is attached to that, so everything hurts.
And the scene where he arrives at Helm's Deep is actually his first scene ever that he shot. And it's also Miranda Otto's first day on the set. When we're talking about Miranda Otto, when she came aboard, Liv Tyler was actually there. She rushed over and she hugged her and she told her, "Oh, it's so nice to have another woman on set." Loki told us before about Liv Tyler. What was she actually doing in Helm's Deep? Please
Okay, so the suits decided we don't like this entire dream thing between Aragorn and Arwen. We want them to actually be physically together in the same place. They've got this chemistry. We want to explore that more. That's what the suits wanted, and they pushed that. So Arwen shows up at Helm's Deep with the elves to fight alongside the Rohirrim.
Yeah, instead of Haldir.
They film that. And then the suits say, well, we don't like it. Oh, and by the way, we've got all these letters and all this drama. So we're going to cut that out and we're going to replace it with Haldir. And obviously, Liv's like, I'm disappointed. I got to kick butt. I got to go, I'm in this battle. I'm kicking butt. I'm twirling around, fighting with Hatafang, which is the sword of Elrond that she has.
Yeah.
And then they just completely cut her out and they replace her.
Right.
They never showed her. They never showed her any fan mail that came in that was like, "Oh, you're Xena," or which is funny because you guys mentioned they're filming in New Zealand. That's where they filmed Xena, was in New Zealand. So, but apparently this footage leaked after the suit said, "Well, you know what? We don't like it now. Change it." It's funny how that leaked after the suit said, "We don't want to. We want you to change it."
Yeah, that leak, which is also really kind of funny because if you put it in today's current climate, if she wasn't included, it would be a problem.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Another kind of nice story about when Miranda Otto kind of arrived on the set was she was introduced to, we changed some stuff because they were keep changing everything. We're making a storyline where you fall in love with Aragorn, but you can't have him. That's what we're building. So we're building a tension because we've got Eowyn and Arwen kind of fighting over the same guy. So we have that little tension. And she said, it's going to be so easy falling in love with a man like that. And I was like, Viggo, you handsome motherfucker. It was awesome. So apart from that, we've got two little tidbits. First of all, the tree beard was both CGI and built for real. It was about 15 feet high, and it had two nestles in it where the hobbits can actually sit. It's pretty well hidden. I tried to look for it when I was rewatching it. It's very hard to spot, but they have their little nook where they can actually sit down, And because it was so high and it was really awkward way of climbing it, because they didn't use ladder, they actually climbed on top of it. When they were breaking for lunch, they were still sitting up there and they had their food brought up there. Now, you would think in today's sort of like the actors and stuff, it was like, yeah, they would be spoiled. It's like drop down and people will get food for them and all that stuff. No, they just hammer it through. It's okay. We'll eat up here. We don't want to climb down and up all the time. It's fine. But of course, John Rhys Davis did the voices for both Treebeard and he was Gimli. For Treebeard, when he did the voiceover, he lowered sort of an octave, and then they did a voice modulator to just give it that little tint, so he wouldn't sound completely like Gimli.
Oddly, what's funny is they increased the timbre. Get it?
Yes, I get that too. And another thing, when it was the sort of Gandalf the White reveal, they started off with a voiceover by Christopher Lee and
Yes.
slowly changed it.
They use a voice modulator in order to swap that voice. Yeah.
Swap
You
between,
know,
and then
why, right?
yes,
Mhm.
because they wanted it to be sort of an effective reveal for it. That's what they said.
Not just that, but Gandalf, in a way, is Sauron. He's like he says he's what Sauron was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So him opening up with that Sauron voice and then it changing is all part of that. I am here and I am what he was supposed to be and I'm fighting for what he was supposed to fight for instead of him being a sellout. So in a way, he kind of is Sauron the White and Gandalf. So that opening voice was perfect to put like a little cherry on top of that.
And also, it was done for sort of half movie effect in terms of working the crowd, because a lot of people didn't even pick up the books to read before going into the theaters to see this. They were revealing him as people were like shocked as as sort of the, as Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli kind of find out that he's still alive, the audience finds out that he's still alive if they didn't read the book. And like I said, a lot of people didn't even pick up the books after the Fellowship. They were just waiting for the movies.
Well, if you went to the theater and you saw Fellowship, if you waited, and this was before the end credit stuff, our little end credit scene. If you waited till the credit rolled, it played a preview for Two Towers. And in that preview, you see Gandalf with the white hair and the white robe, and you hear Aragorn say, "It cannot be." And he says, "I've come back to you now. That's a turn of the tide." And it was their big push for come back and see how the hell Gandalf comes back. But only if you stayed to the end credits. After the credits rolled, did you get to see that little preview for Two Towers?
I have to admit, I didn't stay, but after I went out of Fellowship, because I'm terrible in reading books, I made myself read the books. And ever since, I'm a fucking huge fan. Read the Silmarillion, read the Untold Stories, read everything.
What I find very interesting is the fact that Lord of the Rings at the time, given what a cultural milestone it was when Fellowship was released, and it changed the zeitgeist. The zeitgeist was built around the film. It didn't build up enough to actually retain enough people to go out and actually purchase the further books to read ahead as much as Game of Thrones did in the first season.
That's an amazing thing to me. But it's when Gandalf came up on the screen, I already knew what was going on. And as a comparison, if you brought up Game of Thrones, I read about the Red Wedding way
Way
before
before,
Red
yeah.
Wedding was a thing. So
Yeah.
I was just sitting back at home.
Oh, I was the same. Well, you
Going,
know me, Meth. Like I knew all about Game of Thrones. Like, yes, I'm that hipster douche going like, yeah, I knew about Game of Thrones before it was cool. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. I was
Oh,
just like, oh, your heart's about to be broken, and I can't wait.
and the thing is this, it's so nice to see stuff on screen as you read it, because I've mentioned this behind the scenes, and I've mentioned behind, like, before we started the stream, the book, which is right here. This is the second book. I've mentioned it last week. The entire Helm's Deep thing happens in episode 7 of the second book. They had to completely switch everything around, and the reason is they wanted to finish up on a big climax.
Yeah.
And the big climax for the book itself is actually everything that happens in Shelob's tunnel, which was completely moved
okay.
to Return of the King.
Gotcha.
Plus, it is organized. When we see the movie, we go to Frodo and Sam, and then back to the trio, and then to the two hobbits, and then back to Frodo and Sam. So we're going back and forth as they move on with their journey, sort of like they all move in the same timeline, and that was very deliberate. In the book, you see the entire Rohan story. Then it's done, but it's done with Pippin touching the Palantir and having that whole stuff that he has when he touches it, but he wasn't supposed to touch it because Pippin is an idiot.
Fuck Pippin.
That's literally on the third movie.
All I do have to say is Pippin did have his one redeeming bit in this film. I'll give
Yes.
him that.
So I got this in the second grade.
That's
Okay, so
that's
a vinyl?
no,
no.
this is a
That's
book.
the book.
A book.
This is very old. This is
Hold,
I'll show you some of the-
showing it. Hold on.
That is so cool, man.
So it's got the Lonely Mountain. It's got the Lonely Mountain. It's got beautiful, beautiful illustrations. Because I loved the original. I love the original cartoon.
Tune.
The
Oh
Hobbit.
yeah.
So around 5th grade, I went into our school library. You can't find this anymore for like less than $1,000. Even when mine's not in the best condition, but it's. I mean, I've taken.
I
care
would
of it
sell right
best
now.
I
Like
can.
if you were to auction that off, it would go for at least $700 to $800.
Yeah.
This,
Oh yeah.
This is a very special book, and I'll tell you in a bit why. First of all, I don't know who did the illustration. It doesn't say. It's a very unique illustration. This is technically not the official translation. There's another one, which is the official translation. This copy, is a book that was translated by 3 captured Air Force pilots. So during not during a war, but during one of the operations in 1970, 3 Air Force pilots were shut down, were taken a prisoner in Cairo. They didn't have, they wanted to fill their time, and they had I think it was English or French version of the book, and they translated that to Hebrew. So one of them could read, because just the one or two could read and the other one couldn't. And they wrote it out on like a small pieces of paper. And when they got freed during some sort of a deal that was made 3 years later, they got back and they got an official version of their translation. So there's like few sentences here and there that are completely different. they have the names kind of wrong in certain places, but yeah. It's,
But in so many ways, isn't
very
that kind of
interesting.
interesting the way that Tolkien has touched different military operations?
Yeah, soldiers. Soldiers. All right. All right. Let's have our first game of the day before we start. And it is called Missing Marquee. Man, that cough is not gonna go. Missing Marquee is where we take 10 posters of movies, have their text written off. We display them in the chat. And of course, Loki will have to guess which movie this is. It's gonna be a lightning round. Loki?
Oh no, I have no idea.
Oh, it's such a great...
Stand By Me.
Stand By Me is correct.
It was like,
I
Stephen
was
King.
like, what, lake and a mountain? What the hell is that? Kick Ass.
Kick Ass.
Lethal Weapon 3.
Oh, hold. There we go. Lethal Weapon 3 is correct.
Mars Attacks.
Mars Attack.
Holy crap. No idea.
Kirsten Dunst.
Spider-Man 3? No?
This is not Spider-Man at all.
Okay. Not Spider-Man at all. I have no idea.
Chat. We'll wait for chat a few seconds if they know. It is. We'll call it the depressing movie.
Yes, it is.
Danielle
There it is.
is
It's
correct.
Melancholia.
It is
Yep.
Melancholia.
Never watched it.
It's a very depressing movie, but there's one shining light in this one. She is completely naked for 10 seconds, and it's glorious.
Nice.
He's an old pervert.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders.
Almost said Indiana Jones, but it's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is correct.
Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs.
Which Meth I wanted to include in our highest month, but we've already covered it.
Rocky 5.
Rocky 5 is correct.
Taxi.
Taxi Driver.
No.
Driver. Taxi driver.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
This is Jeremy Renner.
There's something in middle school that you put, and ow.
I hope you're not doing that in high school. No, it was directed by Catherine Bigelow.
There it
she
is.
got an
Paul
Oscar
Gunn.
for it,
Okay.
and of course Paul Harley.
No,
Are
get it? Middle
nice.
school and high school.
With the
You
Hurt
put stuff in it. Ow. Hurt Locker.
Yeah, Danielle with a Hurt Locker. Yeah. Nice. All right. 4 hours. 3 hours, 54 minutes, and some change. But yeah, how do you start? Let's start with this.
I do love the fact they did kind of open up with a little bit of a joke. With Frodo falling, goes, well, I think I found the bottom.
Yeah. But
That's not how they start.
I know.
Man, okay. Every single promo is like, it's like them talking about how, oh, we're gonna jump right back in exactly where we left off. And Viggo Mortensen says it more than anybody else. He's like, we're going to be right there, but that's not how it starts. It starts with Gandalf and Glamdring shooting down that hole like a missile after the Balrog. When he grabs his sword, he's like, "Shoo!" I was flipping out. I was flipping out in the theater. I could not contain my glee and my happiness that Gandalf was going after the Balrog with Glamdring in hand, like a magic missile going down that trench.
And you know what's crazy? In the book, it's like one passage of what happened to me when they meet Aragorn and Legolas and Gimli.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Peter Jackson said, I have to show people the fight between Gandalf and the Balrog, because what a way to like pump people up. It's like, Gandalf didn't die for nothing. Oh, by the way, he's not dead yet. And yeah, but people still think he is. He shows them why, sort of like his real death and how meaningful it is. And then he moves on to that. And that's exactly what I wanted to show, because when we switch over, right? When we switch over to Frodo and Sam, he drops this little case, right? This is I think it's just in the extended cut, but doesn't matter.
It
Yeah,
is.
the spice box, yeah.
The spice box.
When he drops the thing, it was so important to grab it at, like midair, and when they go down and they talk, it's like this is home. Sort of grounding you up into like this is their journey, but Sam is the one that wants that little piece of home to take with him, and it's so important to him to not drop it and not have it lost. And of course, it's a nice little setup and payoff because once Gollum picks up those 2 rabbits, they have seasoning for rabbit stew.
You're ruining it.
We likes it raw and wriggling.
I had no idea Gollum was ODB
Yes.
because he likes it raw.
Yes. And of course, they kind of meet Gollum, and I totally forgot what was in the theatrical and what was the extended because I haven't seen the theatrical in so long. To me, all their conversations, I think the theatrical is very, very minimal up to the point where they kind of like, he's following us. And they have that altercation with Gollum, subdue him, and he suddenly becomes like sort of a master and a slave until Frodo feels sorry for him and kind of, okay, you can be our guide because I know you've been through this road before. Because throughout their story, Gandalf, at least in the books, he tells them about what Gollum went through. So that's how Frodo actually knows. In the movies, it doesn't really appear. Sort of like Frodo says it, but it's knowledge.
Well, I think in a lot of ways that Peter Jackson does a really great job of kind of conveying the fact that Frodo empathizes with Smeagol and Gollum in a way because he actually kind of can see himself in the way that how the ring is kind of turning him, so he can see how. Well, again, Loki to the point like how it did what it did to Bilbo as well.
Yeah, that's when he looks at Gollum, he's seen what Bilbo could have been, and he's seen what could possibly happen to himself.
To him, yeah.
Again, Andy Serkis saying it out loud. This is a harrowing addict. Maybe affected how Elijah Wood kind of looked at it because, again, you don't actually see it through the Fellowship. It kind of more manifests itself as the journey goes along, and it kind of weighs in if you look at it as an addict. Yeah, this is it. At first, you don't see it, and then you don't see it for different reasons, and then it so takes over you. You can see it in others rather than watching it on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And Frodo needs Sam to help mirror that thought. And it comes all around towards the ending of the movie where Frodo kind of realizes, yeah, I kind of see why. But he's still in it like an addict is. And it doesn't really matter what addiction it is. It's sort of like, yeah, it's in the throes, and I'm so far deep into it. I snap at people when they kind of try to take me out of it. Moving on forward, it's sort of we pick up the threads of the
Can we say the line now?
Two hobbits.
Can we say it?
You can say it.
Where are they taking the hobbits?
Are they taking
They're taking the hobbits to Isengard, to Isengard, to Isengard.
Oh my God, you are crazy. The thing is this, all throughout the runnings, this is after Viggo hurt his legs, his foot. This is after Orlando Bloom cracked his rib. And this is after John Rhys Davis actually hurt his knee, or more accurately, his stunt guy, because he wasn't running. And in certain shots he was, in certain shots he wasn't.
Remember,
but they
just
were
have
running.
to keep breathing.
That's the key.
Yeah, they were running for real through the wilderness, through some shots, in like helicopter shots or real shots. And when they stopped and they said cut, all of them were like, ow, ouch, I can't move. It's like they were all like working hurt at this point because again, they shot it so much later on after they got banged up repeatedly throughout the shooting. No, later on. And where did he hit his foot? Again, I'm skipping over the whole Saruman attacking Rohan, and of course, Éomer finding Theodred. I'm gonna move forward.
And with everything with the Eomir's banishment, with
I'm
Wormtongue's
moving
influence.
past Éomer's banishment, of course. I'm just moving on forward to sort of, again, the night of, where the two kind of faction between the Uruk-hai and the regular orcs. By the way, in the Helm's Deep, they didn't have enough tall guys to be the Uruk-hais, so they got a few people that are shorter. Lovingly, the Uruk-hais were called Uruk-hais. You stand here. This is your marker. Stand here. The lower ones, they called Uruk-los. Lovingly. So we've got Uruk-hais and Uruk-los. So these are the Uruk-los. They have that sort of a fight. And of course...
What about them? Them's fresh.
Yeah. And I love
Well,
the fact
they don't need the legs then, do they?
No stinking legs.
and when one of them gets his head cut off, is like, meat's back
on the table, boys.
And they go at it completely. And it's like, perfect. Éomer's guys come in completely.
I did love Pippin's line too. I think we made a mistake by leaving the Shire. No shit.
And there's a moment there where they stopped and smell their stopped and waited for a little bit, and they smelled for man flesh, and they gave Mary a little bit of the old grog, and he tells Pippin, I know what I'm doing, and it's like half dead.
No, I was just faking.
But I want to get to
From what we know about the hobbits, they love to get drunk and they like their pipe weed. So I'm just thinking maybe he was like, well, I am a little bit thirsty. What's this orcish grog like?
And to be absolutely fair, one of my favorite shots of this movie is the shot with the horses as they kind of meet, as they chase over, they kind of meet Éomer. Again, I'm going back and forth here, so please forgive me.
That's fine.
They came in here, and as they all lower their spears in this circle and go forward because they don't know these people. They haven't had any introductions. And all of these guys, all of these Rohirrim are all banished at this point. So they're waiting to take out anything. As they meet Aragorn.
And also, to be fair, a human, a dwarf, and an elf traveling together, not exactly what we call a common occurrence.
Yeah, and to be fair, this is my first introduction to Carl Urban. The guy is legit. He's
yeah.
Great actor.
I told you how great Dredd was. You're like, I didn't like it the first time I watched it. No, watch it again. And what'd you say, Meph? It's a good movie.
Anything I said about Dredd 2012. Anything.
Amir is probably my third favorite character in this movie. So you've got Theoden's my second. Gandalf's always going to be my top guy. So Gandalf's perfect, but Theoden after that, and Amir after that. Both Theoden and Amir give such great, wonderful performances in this movie. To me, it dwarfs Viggo's role. I mean, Viggo is supposed to be like the hero in this, Aragorn, but Theoden and Éomer give such good performances in this movie.
Which, again, look, I told Meph this last week. Actually, one of my favorite performances of this is Brad Dourif as Wormtongue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Screamly, yeah.
I'm getting to that. So they have that whole exchange, and they're telling them about what they did, last night, and they killed all the stuff. And as I want to get to that because it really goes back and forth. I kind of skimmed over the fact that the two hobbits meet Gandalf, but we don't see a full reveal, so we kind of think it's Saruman.
Which that's great because they kind of subvert your expectations there because they have Treebeard go, oh no, we have to see the White Wizard, and they automatically say, oh, it's Saruman, and that's what the audience is led to believe until you have the reveal of the Fellowship meeting Gandalf the White for the first time.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have the exact thing because VLC is so difficult to maneuver, but this is the point where they go into that pile of bodies, and Gimli shows, look, it's their belts. They're done because Aramir said we killed everybody and we piled them off and just burned them off. And Aragorn kicks a helmet, a very famous one. I think it's also in the theatrical cut as well. He literally kicked that thing so hard. And as we mentioned it last week in the Fellowship, all of the costumes, everything that they made with such great care and made it exact and as if it was real.
Mm-hmm.
That helmet was very tough. It was a little bit buried. So it wasn't, kick it over and it just rolls over. It was a little bit buried. So when he kicked it with all his might, he literally broke 2 toes. And his shout was for real.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And Peter Jackson was like, that is such a great thing. Now go to the EMTs and take care of your foot for me.
Yeah. It's like, and that's the take we're gonna use.
Yes. Print.
I was gonna say the only kind of issue that I sort of have with this just in general is it's the bait and switch is a little bit too much for me. Because I'm sure it's a little bit different in when it comes to the books because with the, like as you said, Meph, that the pacing is different and the story is completely told in a different manner. But the way that they do 3 bait and switch deaths like back to back.
Yeah, I think in the book, correct me if I'm wrong, Loki. I don't remember I don't know if you've read the book recently. I think they meet him at they meet Gandalf at the outskirts of Fangorn Forest, not actually inside. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's very different. There's subtle differences. Most of them, like I said, done as sort of to enhance the drama. I don't think the hobbits actually do meet Gandalf in the book. They just encounter Treebeard and immediately go to the Entmoot because Treebeard already knows about Isengard and the sacrilege of the trees, but he doesn't do anything about it because if you're looking at it through D&D terms, it's sort of like neutral. He's full neutral, so he doesn't go.
Yes, he's absolutely true. Which again, that's a nitpicky point on my end because how I get when it comes to certain things. Like when I see repetition in a film too many times, it just kind of is irksome to me. To other people, like again, you may absolutely adore it, and I may be completely off my base here. But for me, it's just like, it's a little bit too much because you had the bait and switch with Gandalf, then you had the bait and switch with Pippin and Merry. And then you had the bait and switch with Aragorn, where it's like, can we believe that anybody's dead in this series or what?
Well, no. I want to touch upon this because this is my favorite line of the entire trilogy. I use that line all the time in my personal life.
Yeah.
Well, if you're on YouTube, you got to kind of use that line all the time. If you were on YouTube, I'm on nobody's side.
Yeah, so you have to exactly.
when they encounter him, it's like whose side are you on? It's like side. I'm on no one's side because nobody is on my side. That's like my life motto for the past 20 years since I actually it's a line from the book. And they used it here because it's so important to set Treebeard up as a completely neutral thing. All he wants is to curtail this forest. And he even says it in the movie, and he says it in the book. I can't even control these trees anymore. They gone so wild. They got so crazy because of what's happening with Saruman. He was supposed to take care of these trees too, as a magical being.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, too, like again, Tolkien has such a clever way of using the allegory of the Ents with it, trying to be like Treebeard, especially trying to be a completely neutral party in the allegory to World War One. Like it's so well done. You're muted, buddy.
You're muted.
I want to move a little bit. I was coughing. I want to move a little bit forward to this shot because I want to talk about this cinematically. First of all, it's an incredible shot.
It's a gorgeous shot.
Second of all, they did this on the first take. So they called the horse. Well, the horse was very well trained. Of course, they didn't shoot this at one shot. But the part where the horse comes up to Ian McKellen and just, nods to him, one shot. And it was too perfect. And it's like, okay, we're done. It's done.
Whoever was the equestrian on staff there, fucking just amazing work.
Yeah.
Especially trying to get especially a lot of shots that are actually to show actual live horses going over narrow chasms that are actually like utilizing actual horses. Like that's some real talented people with these animals, because that's going against their pure nature.
Yeah, I have some stuff for Return of the King when they have that horse battle, but generally speaking, to not hurt the horses, they of course didn't have when they were running and doing like elaborate actions, they didn't have horse to horse really close. They had them about 6 feet apart, and then they just filled in
superimposed them,
CGI horses just to make sure the horses are not hurt. And they have a sort of room to breathe and run and all that stuff. So they were very careful with the horses. Viggo, I told you last week, he bought a horse for Liv Tyler's stunt woman. He also bought a horse that he was riding on in this movie. He got him back to Denmark, and then he got him back to New Zealand for reshoots. So that horse he had a great connection with him, and sort of he loved horses, apparently. Okay, moving forward. The Black
just on the Hobbit bit with Sam and Gollum and Frodo. The bit in the swamp. Can Frodo just please listen to people around him giving him accurate advice, like, "Hey, dum-dum, don't look down."
Yeah, don't follow the lights.
Can I add one thing before we go forward? Please. The scene where Gandalf's explaining to the Fellowship what happened with the Balrog.
Yes.
Yeah.
For everything to have happened the way that it happened. When Gandalf finds this in The Hobbit, when he finds Glamdring, this is the sword of the King of Gondolin. So this is the sword of the first elf, like the very first elf city. This is the sword of their king. It was made by the very best elven blacksmiths that were ever known to history. If Gandalf hadn't have had this, he could not have beaten the Balrog. There would have been no way, no chance he could have beaten it. Because he had this sword and he had his abilities as a wizard, he was able to defeat the Balrog. And that is what the First Age elves did. They fought Balrogs. So Morgoth, who was the original bad guy in Middle Earth, had Balrogs as like his foot soldiers. So when Legolas sees that in Fellowship, and he's like,
shit.
Freaking out. That is why, because Legolas has never seen a Balrog before. He's just heard about him. And then it took hundreds of elves to fight these things and to bring them down. So for Gandalf to do that, go one-on-one with the Balrog and defeat him, all because he had this sword and had his abilities and who he was, that is something entirely out of this world, even in Middle Earth, for anyone to do.
Yeah, just to understand the power balance, I've checked it after I did a little bit of a blunder last week. I did say that the Balrogs were the big tanks of Morgoth. The Balrogs, before they became the Balrogs, were actually the same type of creature as Gandalf. They were the Maiar. They were sort of like a demigod creature. And when Arda split into Aman and the rest of Middle Earth, when Morgoth took those Maiar that were existing and he corrupted them and he turned them into the Balrogs. So in terms of sort of power levels, same power as Gandalf, but super corrupted, super powerful, infused with the Discord song of Morgoth.
Just one other thing, just as a quick aside, that Shelob, she's actually one of the spawn or children of Morgoth, correct?
No, she was the spawn of Ungoliant, which was
okay, that's right.
Original spider that that sucked the life out of the two trees.
That's right.
Yep. Too far in. And yes, Paul, Gondolin, not Gondor.
Yeah.
Yes,
Gondolin.
Yeah. Like I even did extra homework and tried to read up a little bit on Silmarillion stuff for you. Okay,
Silmarillion is a very tough read. It's very lore heavy. Gondolin,
well, it's kind of like in so many ways reading the Iliad for like half of the Iliad. We're like,
I have never had to take notes reading a book before. Ever. I've always got characters. I've always got, okay, I know what's going on. I can follow everything. I read the Silmarillion and I was like, okay, this person is this person is that. This name goes to this. They call this person this, and this. Yes. I had to take notes. I couldn't read it without taking notes.
It's crazy. But yeah, Gondolin is the last kingdom to fall. It was hidden, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole rigmarole with that fucking thing. And how it fell was very interesting story too. It's all sorts. So, Gandalf, Balrog, same power originally. I have to move forward. Grima. I think this whole back and forth was in the extended cut. Again, I don't exactly remember, where Éowyn kind of, I think it's Theodred on his deathbed or already died. And she's looking towards, like Éomer has already been banished by this point, and Grima's like coming in and telling her sweet nothings in her ear.
I believe this was in the original theatrical cut, because they allude to it as Éomer is getting banished. Like, I've seen the way you look at my sister, and this was only to further emphasize of what a scumbag Wormtongue is supposed to be.
Yeah, and he kind of tells her, "Look, you have no option here. Your brother has been banished. You're going to be mine." He doesn't say it that way, but it's like, oh, like a spring, and he's talking about springs and open summers. And God damn, you're trying to impress her or something. She can see right through him. It's like, your words are poison, and she leaves. Now the thing is this: when Brad Dourif, after he chases off, he goes to Isengard, he goes to Saruman, and they had that little bit later on in the movie where he's like, he tells Saruman, look, they're going to go to Helm's Deep. It's an impregnable fortress. There's no army that exists that can take down that keep. And he follows Saruman, and he sees that army, and one tear drops from his eyes, sort of like telling us, well, he is very corrupted, but he still is.
So that last shred of his humanity, like leaking out. Yeah.
Well, the thing with Éowyn what he's trying to do and what he tells her when he's talking about the walls of the Bower walls closing in around you, he has systematically cut her off from
From everything.
everything that ever mattered to her. He
Mhm.
cut her off from her brother. He cut her off from Theoden. He cut her off from her cousin. He has cut her off from everything to where all she has is the walls of the keep around her. So when she's laying there in the dark, crying or doing whatever, he is the only option she has. He has turned it into, you can come to me, and that's all you can come to, because I'm all that's here that's willing to show you any form of compassion because I want you. It's a staple of people that do mental abuse. I'm the only one that's ever going to care about you. I'm the only one that's here for
Yes.
you. No one else wants anything to do with you. It's me or nothing.
Loki,
And
you
she'd
are
rather take nothing.
you are 1000% correct, because that is emotional abuse down to its T. Yeah. I will have to say is
I was about
Loki.
to say,
Sorry,
or whatever. Brad Dourif could do the one tier thing on his own. He
Yeah.
didn't need to use any
Mhm.
special like stuff in his eye. Apparently, he could do that on cue, and Peter Jackson was like, "I got you," so he did that.
I was gonna say, Loki, as you do have the actual prop sword, would you mind saying the line?
No problem. No problem. Perhaps your hands would remember their old strength if you held your sword.
There we go.
And I wanted to have it on the VLC, but apparently it's stuck in. Let's just show you. It's stuck here. But I had two shots ready to go. One of them is Gandalf coming to Adoras, still wearing that sort of gray cloak.
road.
And the other one is him after he's had that very dramatic sort of disrobe.
Yeah.
After Grima realizes, why didn't anybody take his staff?
I told you to take his staff.
I told you to take the wizard staff.
Oh, come on. Okay. There. As he frees Theoden from the sort of the spell that Saruman has on him. I like the fact that when he does hold the sword, it serves as sort of a cinematic wipe between his old self, sort of not old self, but young old self confused, and when it kind of wipes over, you see that kind of determination flooding into his psyche, and his eyes became more squinted. He becomes more angry, and you can feel that weight of the sword. Yeah,
That's that look he gives. It's that look he gives Grima, because he's looking at his sword and then he's like, "You." And you're like, "Oh, you would have me crawling on my knees to Saruman like a dog." Yeah.
it's so good. It's just, Bernard, I understand why you said that you like Theoden as your main character for this. He has look at where he started the movie. Definitely on his knees, under a spell, not doing what he liked. He is so out of it. He doesn't even recognize his son is dead. He's not even mourning on his son. He's not even going to his, like, when he was wounded. Just he's so out of it, and he finishes the movie on his horse, fully geared up for war. It's like, we're out there for a Red Dawn. We're going to fucking kill these.
What's great about it too is he even shows moments of temporary relapses in his own sense of himself, with the way that he was able to be turned so well. Like when especially during the Battle of Helm's Deep, Logan, like, he questions, like, what am I doing? I'm having all these people, like, what should I do? What should I do? And Aragorn, like, gives him that almost kind of morale speech, and at the end it's like, no, Fine, we ride.
But
Yep.
he's also got to live up to these tales of his ancestors.
As his ancestors,
He has all these warrior ancestors that have gone on and done all these great things, and he's like, I'm gonna be the last, and I'm gonna be the worst. I'm going to be the worst for falling under the spell. I've lost my son. I have no heir. I'm going to be the end of the line, and I'm going to be the biggest disappointment in my family. In my family tree, I'm going to be the biggest disappointment. That's why he rides in Return of the King, and that's why he does what he does. Because if he's going to go out and what does he say? He says, if I'm going to face an end, I'm going to face
Let us be a glorious end.
end.
Let it be a glorious end. That's right. That's right. And that's why he's like, you know what? I'll ride to my death with all you boys behind me. Let's go.
Let's go. But before that, I showed that sort of like they get evacuated. We have that conversation between Eowyn and Aragorn as he sees her picking up a sword and sort of like he sees her worth. And let's just say this, in today's kind of female empowerment, if you read the book, everything that is on screen when it comes to Eowyn is in the book, is very subtle, but it's in the book where she wants to go to war. I don't think in the book she actually hides with Mary. I think she hides but without Mary. I'm not sure. I haven't read it and it's so long. But it's a little bit different. But she is there in the battle, and she does kill the Witch King of Angmar because he can't be killed by a man. But that's further down the line. But what I'm saying is, in that little conversation with Aragorn, Peter Jackson puts her in that position where she wants to go out and help the men, and she wants to be a fighter. But Aragorn is the one that's grounding her. He says, well, you look like a natural leader. He doesn't say that, but that's what I'm inferring. You look like a natural leader. You seem to fight. You're a shield maiden. Be the one that leads your people from the back. These people need you. They need a leader. Their king now is going off to fight. They need an authority figure that can handle all the women, children, and old and elderly, that can organize everything and make sure nobody goes crazy and hysterical and everybody keeps together.
Yes.
You could not get away with making a female character like her today. You couldn't. And that's so sad because she's feminine, she's strong, she's smart, she's all the things you would want in like a kick-ass woman to be at your side. That is the ideal woman for me. I want someone that can kick ass, that can defend themselves if necessary, if I'm not there, that can do all the things she can do, but retains the femininity and retains the strength of leadership. You cannot have that in a female character today.
Yeah, and look at what's really so important about Eowyn is the fact that she understands it's not her role, but it's something that she needs to do for the good of the people. Yep. She's sacrificing her own will. She's sacrificing how she wants to go out to battle because she knows that if she is not going to take care of the people, no one else will. She has to step up.
Yeah.
And that in itself is empowering. I mean, let's be fair.
And she grows from this experience, by the way, and moving on to the next movie as we see
very much so.
Way more kicking ass. And because there are no more people to take care of, you done that part. Now we're moving on to the next part. But
granted, she is still thirsty for Aragorn. I mean, let's be fair.
Again, moving back and forth, we go back to this.
Loki, we joked about that. I had to make that joke again. I had to throw that back in there.
Thirsty.
Yeah.
Taters. What is taters?
What is taters? I like it that he used like
chips.
It's more of a northern accent, or more of a sort of British northern accent, as they say.
It is.
As it's just good, and this is the setup and payoff. This is why he kept those spices, the salts that he have, to have that stew later on, as they kind of meet, before they meet Faramir, they meet the Oliphants. And to me, it's sort of like they're watching an army, let's say a bad army gathering in, but they stay and look at this marvel that they couldn't have actually seen if they stayed in the Shire. And that's the elephants, the war elephants.
Which
And
is
of
a
course,
perfect allegory for World War I tanks.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, they get caught by Faramir. Faramir doesn't understand who they are, what they are. They seem like spies to him, and it's not the first time that that they've been mentioned in that way. Merry and Pippin were considered orcs by Treebeard, so we have that
We
going
have
on as well.
determined you are not orcs.
Yeah. It took you that long? Yes. We
But what if you're like,
long
oh,
time to
we
say
have
good
just
morning.
said good morning.
Good morning. We just got through saying good morning, but it's nighttime already. Oh, it takes a long time to talk about anything around here.
But yeah, as the full breadth of Faramir doesn't actually manifest itself here, the movie is very long.
Well, the character of Faramir also is different compared to what he was in the books. That is a huge character change, because in the books he's like, huh, a ring? And he's the only one. He is the only person that's like, I don't care about this. It's just a ring. And
Yep.
doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He's like, I could take it. I could leave it. I don't care. It does not affect Faramir at all. In this movie, though, it's like, oh, I could show my worth. I only turned in the ring. That's the one thing I complained about after I saw this, was that's not Faramir.
And the thing is this, that that moment where I'm moving a little bit forward because there's a lot of like Helm's Deep and the whole Aragorn and Arwen's dream, and then Elrond and all that stuff. I'm leaving that behind. When we're talking about Faramir and he talks to Frodo, and Frodo kind of confessed, I'm Frodo, this is Sam. We've been in fellowship with Boromir. And that kind of rings Faramir's bells. And when he said, well, I found his horn, and it goes into that, in the extended cut, it goes into that when he saw the boat coming in, and then goes into how Boromir reconquered Osgiliath, and that whole interaction between, hold on.
And just as an aside, real quick, there, like, again, I had not read the books. I'll be flatly honest with you. So Loki, I thought Tharamir's kind of his rejection of the possibility of attaining more substantial, like, prestige in his father's eyes by rejecting the ring was good in this. But as you said, Loki, in the books, Tharamir's like, ring, whatever.
Well, and eventually I came around to going, you know what? I kind of like this. It's like nobody's invulnerable. He is invulnerable to the ring in the books. He's just like it.
Yeah, it's like, that just means that like what a good guy he actually. It's like good guy Faramir over here.
I was gonna say this extra scene that we had, that they literally brought Sean Bean back to shoot with the guy playing Denethor. His name escapes me. It just sets up the whole brothers dynamic, why Faramir is how he is, and it sets up the stuff for later on for Return of the King, the dynamic between Faramir and Denethor, where if you've seen this shot, it kind of explains what happens in the whole later on in Return of the King. Mm-hmm. But in this, just for this particular movie, you understand why he wants that ring so much. If you don't see this, you think, well, it's like Boromir 2.0. Oh, we have the same story again, where a captain from Gondor wants the ring to bring it back in order to, because he thinks it's going to be like this magical power that will save Gondor, not understanding it's its actual worth.
And they
Paul,
also
thank you. It's John Noble.
lose
Yeah.
they lose the whole point of, because Denethor couldn't see past Boromir, he sent the wrong brother. If
Yeah.
he would have sent Faramir, Faramir would have been with him the whole time. He most likely wouldn't have died because he would have never tried to take the ring from Frodo, and things would have been different. But because Denethor sent Boromir, Boromir tries to take the ring. Boromir ends up dying defending Merry and Pippin, and it all kind of
it all kind of rolled in. It sort of like that extra scene puts Denethor more responsible for Boromir's death. They're Faramir.
Yeah, because Faramir offered to go. He said, I'll go. It's the elves. I'll go. No, this is too important for you. You're just a failure. You're my little failure. We're going to send Boromir.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like, bring back the ring to us because we need this to save Gondor. It's like,
well, what no one told anybody is he'd been using the Palantir, so he'd been receiving messages from Sauron. The whole time. Sauron's been in there like, ooh, this is going to happen, and Aragorn's going to come back and take everything from you, and I'm going to, little puppet master, manipulate. And they don't even really tell you that in the movie. They just allude to it. But yeah, the whole time, Sauron's been playing Denethor like, unless you do this, all these bad things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, again, later on in that same sort of setting, in that cave, they capture Gollum. And this is Gollum after that whole... There's a moment in the movie where Gollum kind of talks to himself.
Yeah, he has that break where he becomes Smeagol and he excises Gollum. And then as soon as he gets that one betrayal, his psyche has now been fractured again.
Yeah, and when they catch him, they not only catch him, they
beat him.
Sort of beat him and torture him a little bit, which brings out the Gollum in him. And he has the same sort of fight yet again, but the Gollum, the evil one, kind of splits out, and he tells Faramir, they stole it from us. As Faramir doesn't know who to believe at this point. It's like, is Frodo or Gollum? I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to take everybody, and I'm going to bring the ring back to my father.
Yeah. And you do have to give Frodo credit, too, because even Sam is saying, use the ring. You can escape.
Yes. Sorry. I'm trying to set up this thing. What I've went back into is the whole fight between the wargs. And there's a moment there, again, this is extended cut, just before the wargs, as Eowyn brings him something to eat, and it's terrible.
Oh, the stew,
makes that face.
Mm-hmm.
And they have that conversation, and he tells her, well, I'm 87.
Yeah.
I know you're like your king when he was little. And she realizes, oh, you're like the Dunedain. You're like a part of Numenor. She doesn't say Numenor. She said the Dunedain, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
As it's just a little bit extra thing that we know from the books, but they put it in there just so we know. And it makes everything else a little bit more special. And when they do get attacked by the wargs and he falls, Eowyn is not there because she took, they tell her, you have to lead the civilians, right? And the army stays back. My voice is going.
It's okay.
And when they come back to Helm's Deep, it's like, where's Sir Aragorn? And it's like, my lady, he fell. He literally fell. When he was there filming the river bit, for real, Viggo Mortensen, there's a moment, where he lays on top, right, with his face upwards. They did that because originally he was face down for a few minutes extra.
In a puddle of water.
Nearly drowned.
No.
So they have to switch him over to being upstairs so he can breathe. But he was supposed to be with face down. Like I said, so many injuries. It's insane. But they took it. Like Peter Jackson said, when I went to talk to Viggo, I just talked to him. I didn't say Viggo. I said Aragorn. And we mentioned this before. He was always with his sword. Always. Between takes, between lunches, always with the sword. So when Peter Jackson came to talk to him, he didn't call him Viggo. He called him Aragorn because he was so dialed in. Right. You know what? Let's stop. Because we generally have Helm's Deep, which was massive, and we have Osgiliath, and then we're over. So
I was going to say just one thing that I found really great was the fact that I don't know if this is actually in the books or not, but when the first kind of numbers of mentioning of their numbers, they mentioned the same. Okay, well they mentioned the Battle of Thermopylae essentially.
Kind of.
We have 300 soldiers. And at this point, if we get to this one point, their numbers will matter for nothing.
Kind of.
And they didn't have the elves in the book.
Yeah.
The elves didn't. So it's just them. It's just them in Helm's Deep in that keep fighting.
Oh, no. It was just the fact that they actually utilized the actual number 300 and just the overall phrasing. It's like, oh, that's the Battle of Thermopylae.
I'm not
Which
sure.
is actually wasn't 300
sure
Spartans either.
I think maybe it was like both of them technically were 43 and 42, but I don't know. Anyway, let's have our second game of the night. We'll call it Screen Fighter.
Round 1, fight.
Screen Fighter is where we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, both are good, both are bad, we fall into our criteria where I lose my voice. As we watch a movie on a Friday evening, Saturday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with their significant other, two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? Chat participation is most welcome now that I have chat. Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, or Blade Runner 2049. Loki, you start us off.
Okay, if Star Trek, are we looking at Star Trek 5 like it was all just Kirk dreaming, having a dream while they're at Yellowstone, or is it like did these events actually happen?
These events actually happen?
Then 2049. If it's just a dream, I'll take Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. If it's just a dream that Kirk's having at Yellowstone. If it actually happened, Blade Runner 2049.
All right. Feelings?
A different kind of criteria, but I get where he's coming from because wowee. Thank you for reintroducing me to that this year, Meph. 2049.
All right. I'm going to pick Star Trek V because whatever. I didn't like Blade Runner at all.
That's all right.
Smoking Aces or X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oddly enough, both films star Ryan Reynolds.
No, I know. Loki?
Oh, you had to do that to me. God, you must really not like me.
It's random.
Okay. Are we in Wolverine? Are we including the fact that Wade comes back in Deadpool 2 and kills the mouthless Wade, or are we not including?
No, we're just taking the two movies on face value.
Smoking Aces.
You pop in.
I hated the end of Wolverine, so Smoking Aces.
All right, cool. Feelings?
I will also go Smoking Aces just because I did kind of like the subversive twist at the end of Smoking Aces. It was kind of cool.
It's Smoking Aces because X-Men Origins is terrible. Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1, a movie that my wife is watching right now in the other side of this wall. Or Shaun of the Dead.
That's easy, Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
I'm a huge Harry Potter fan too. I mean, seriously, look,
that's
Slytherin.
a great Shaun of the Dead poster, and it's also like it's my second favorite one of the Cornetto trilogy, and we know how much we talked about how much I love that movie. So
It was easy choice. I love the Harry Potter saga. I do not like the Harry Potter movies. I know it's hard, but I know. Shakespeare in Love or The Breakfast Club?
Breakfast Club, easy.
We're not even giving our audience.
don't you forget
about me.
There's an added issue with the Shakespeare in Love because Saving Private Ryan was supposed to win the Oscar, but because Weinstein is Weinstein, Shakespeare in Love won. Predator 2 or Interview with a Vampire?
Want some candy? Want some candy? Predator 2. Want some candy?
Right.
Oh, that's great, man.
Feelings?
Oh, I'm such a big sucker for Anne Rice, and it's actually like the best adaptation of any of her works. Has to be Interview with a Vampire, just because, well, young Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, and yes, one girl you talked about seeing naked earlier is her first role, a very young Kirsten Dunst.
Yes, but she wasn't naked in this one, and she was too young. Anyway, for me, it's Interview with a Vampire. I love Danny Glover. I loved him in this role. He generally played like Murtaugh fighting Predator. I'm not even fucking joking.
He was too old for this shit.
He was way too old for this shit. Interview with a Vampire.
I did love the fact how, like, at the end, when the Predator's like, okay, you got him. Here's an old pistol.
All right.
I haven't seen either of them.
Okay.
I would say the Whiplash. You should see Whiplash once. Great fucking movie.
Right.
But just the once, though.
Yeah.
The Professional or Leon.
Yeah.
Or Nothing to Lose.
Nothing to lose.
Okay.
Oh man, Loki, you're gonna come after me with them swords now.
No, I think The Professional is a great movie, but this and the other one where he acts like a cop, I think are Martin Lawrence, and I really like.
Was that Blue Steel?
Blue Streak, yeah.
Blue Streak.
Blue Streak.
So Martin Lawrence and Tim
Robbins.
I like both of them. I love Tim Robbins and Cadillac Man. So I like comedy sometimes.
Man,
both are good movies, but I like.
You know what? Cadillac Man is up for a rewatch and a review soon.
That's a good one. That's a real good one.
I love that movie so much.
Oh, and I really want to watch Hudsucker Proxy again, man.
The Professional for you, because it is.
Yeah,
for me. I love that.
Movie.
It's really good.
And all I say is, Loki, if you ever try to catch The Professional on like any kind of cable, just watch it for Gary Oldman's rants with all of the expletives bleeped out or changed to words, because I have never laughed so hard in my life.
Really? I'll have to look that up.
I've got no time for this Mickey Mouse bullshit. What?
I think it's on YouTube. I think what was that? I think Movie Clips has the bleeped one, if I'm not mistaken. So you can actually watch that rant without watching.
It's very funny.
All right, last one. Caddyshack or A Few Good Men?
Oh, dude, you're really gonna do. I love Caddyshack as a comedy, but A Few Good Men is shit, dude. I hate to go against anything. I've got a damn Bushwood shirt. I'm gonna have to go A Few Good Men. Growing up in a military family, being around people like this, Jack Nicholson nails it, Tom Cruise nails it, Demi Moore nails it, everyone in that movie nails it. And as funny as Caddyshack is, I gotta go with the courtroom drama over that this time. If you ask me tomorrow, I might say Caddyshack.
Yeah, I know that's how the dice rolls when we do these.
Every now and then you get one like, damn it.
I want them both. I want them now. Feelings?
I would love watching them both, but I'm all right.
It's A Few Good Men. I
Well,
love
that next one was super easy too.
What? Hero?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Just for you.
Hero.
Hero.
Yeah, Hero's a
Hero.
badass movie.
Way
I
too
hated
overdrawn,
Hollow
but way better than Hollow Man.
Like there's a
hated
director's
Hollow
cut
Man.
of Hero. If you can find it, it was only on DVD. They never did it on Blu-ray or anything, but the director's cut is absolutely fantastic.
All right. Let me bring up the movie again. Okay. So Helm's Deep took 4 months to shoot. 4 months. And when they were done with it, they were like, we're done. We don't want to get even near this place anymore. Please just, we're done with it. Now, there's a few things that were kind of integral into that whole bit. The moment where the orcs kind of get to the line and they get their spears and they like hit it over the ground, that's something that came from an actual thing that the extras did. So when they were bored and they were just standing around, what they did was they just did this. That block. Thank you.
Wow, Meth, I didn't know you cared.
Hey, Paul, clip it, ship it. Let's go.
So they were banging their. That's not good. No.
It's like that's not helping your case here, bud.
Yeah. So they were banging their spears on the ground. And made it into the movie. Kind of like they that sort of the moment where they stopped and there was dead silence, and the guy without the eye kind of loosed that little arrow, sort of making it that shot that started the chaos, which was
it's so many ways
brilliantly done.
It was kind of perfect because it's kind of like the shot that assassinated who?
The shot that hurt it went straight into the left.
No. I'm talking about Franz Ferdinand.
Oh,
World War I.
Okay.
Silly.
Hey, got it. This is why you're here, because I'm dumb sometimes or all the time. But yes. Another thing is that guy that loosed the arrow, that guy without the eye, he was the extra was wearing an eye patch. Peter Jackson was very intrigued on what's behind the eye patch because evidently he saw Goonies too many times.
Come on, man.
When he did, he was very self-conscious because, hey, dude, it's an injury.
Yeah.
He managed to convince him to have the shot without the eye patch. And after he did that and he saw it on film, he came to Peter Jackson. He said, Peter, thank you. Now I feel less self-conscious without not wearing the eye patch.
So that's cool. That's a
he's the one that was like, fire!
Yeah.
You see his hollow eye.
Exactly. Again, the whole sequence took them a long time to do. Sometimes, again, because of the rain and sort of the rain machines, it was muddy, it was grimy. They didn't want to do it, but a lot of the magical stuff that was there done was so offhand. The toss me thing, sort of like, okay, you need to throw me there, or we need to get there.
And don't you dare tell the elf about this.
Yeah,
I cannot jump the distance. You have to toss me.
Don't tell the elf. Plays into that whole Gimli and Legolas friendship, that's frenemies kind of thing.
Yeah,
so well played. Again, everything was a throwaway thing.
What I'd love to was also, given the fact that like the budget on this film was outrageous, but even they had stock screams in it.
Yes, They did have a
Yeah.
Wilhelm stock stream.
No, they didn't have the Wilhelm scream. They had the yeah scream. It's like, oh, I know that one.
But
And
there's so many.
I do love. I wish they would have just ponied up a little bit more because I just in my
Well,
head whenever they have the orc running with the torch, all
oh
I can think of is Chariots of Fire.
yeah. The thing is this: those doors they tried to break with the battle ram, the battering
Better
ram.
gram. Mhm.
Those doors were actually built as if they were supposed to withstand a battering ram.
Yeah.
So much so that Peter Jackson said, well, if everybody turns out the lights, like an EMP or whatever, and we had to actually build castles, I want the Weta was the company that did all the special effects.
Practical effects.
I want them to build me the castle, because those doors were, let's say, they could withstand the fake battering ram for real.
Yeah.
They couldn't actually do anything to those
Break down
doors.
the doors. Yeah. What's interesting too is it another thing that made me laugh out loud. It always does. Come on, extreme Legolas going
Oh,
down going down the stairs on the shield and shooting.
this skateboard Legolas, yes, a fun moment, and the fact that at the end it hold, there we go. It gets stuck in somebody's like chest armor. It was
Yeah.
so strong. It stuck in
Like
chest
that
armor.
force.
Yeah.
But that's some really weak armor.
You know, one thing to bring up is they have lost the ability to make a movie like this now. None of
very
this
so.
would have been filmed. There would be no intermingling of real effects and CGI. There would be no Wetaworks building a door or anything. They just green screen the entire thing, put a couple actors in it, and do it all in post.
Which
And that is
Yeah.
really killing things today.
Yeah. Look, I 100% agree with you. And Meph, you can go on and on and on about how much I love practical effects. Like this is
Oh.
why I love the way that they did this. Like, yeah, the budget shows, and the budget was well spent. You could
The
see where it went. What's
Dude,
also
the
great is
budget
this.
was $93 million for this particular movie.
Yeah.
That, like, they shot all three, so it technically saved them money. But we mentioned this. It's almost a year, full year, 274 days of principal shootings. They went back after the Fellowship
Reshoots.
was out. They went back after the Two Towers were out to fix a few more things and to add more things. Some of them actually made it to the extended cut. Some of them didn't. Like, some of them made it to the theatrical cut. Sort of story plot points and certain things, but generally speaking, the whole bit was 280 something million, and it was divided to 90, and another 90, basically, roughly. In terms of, you can do inflation from 2000. I think it will come up to about 170 each. Again, it was a massive expense. This is New Line Cinema. They were on the verge of collapsing.
Yeah, bankruptcy.
Yes. Yeah, they were. This was a gigantic gamble.
And Tom was in the chat. I don't know if he's here or not, but Tom was in the chat. I think him and Andre did an interview with Robert Shea.
Yes, yeah, he did
back in the day. I think he mentioned it last time he was here, or
Yep.
a time before that, about how much of a risk it was to actually do this whole adventure. They saw Peter Jackson's vision and they just went with it. Again, they had to meddle here and there. Oh, my voice is going down. They had to meddle here and there because they are a studio and they are attached to Warner Brothers. But generally speaking, they let him do what he needed to do. And one of those shots was this shot right there as he skims down those steps with the fucking shield. And
And what's great too is I know it's a nitpicky thing, but you can actually see how they actually had the prop set up to slide. It's like,
yes, I know.
Yeah.
it's a nitpicky thing, but it's also like I kind of like that just because it's like, hey, sometimes I like the way I like knowing how the soup is made. You know, it's kind of cool to see that.
When seeing him while he does that, the fact that he's like reaching behind him to pull an arrow, but there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So he's not firing anything. He's just doing the motion, and they're throwing all that in there in post. So you've got real special effects, you've got practical effects, and you've got CGI being blended. And it's perfect.
Look, a grand spectacle like this in kind of another, it's more of a historical drama, is Kingdom of Heaven. Oddly enough, with
Yes.
Orlando Bloom.
Oh yeah.
With Orlando.
Around this era, which is like you can't make that kind of film these days. You
No.
can't. They won't do it.
You can. They just won't do it. The fact that people were wearing breastplates so authentic, like I said, that like Bernard Hill actually cracked his sternum.
Yeah.
Hiding with it. It's about doing the extra work, and those people who in those orc suits, they were suffering for real.
Yeah.
They were really suffering. A lot of stunt guys, a lot of extras, they were suffering for real. They were standing there in the rain, in the cold, in the hot, doing this for months. And they were bored, and yes, they were cranky, but they showed up when it was time to show up.
And see, what's also great about that too is, Matthew, you mentioned it was a giant gamble for New Line Cinema, even given the inflated budget with including marketing. Say that, let's put it on modern day figures, 170 million per movie. That's peanuts compared to modern blockbusters. That's nothing.
And to be perfectly honest, I haven't seen the movie, but I've again seen a few streams that it was talked about. It's Godzilla -1.
Oh,
which is good. It's very good. It's very good.
I was told, I haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for it to go on streaming because they won't release it in theaters over here. A good combination between practical effects and CGI effects. Loki can tell us in a second.
Yeah.
And done. They said 15 million, and then they interviewed the director, and he said, I wish it was 15 million. It was less.
Yeah.
So Loki, please, just in a few moments about the blending between CGI and practical effects in Godzilla -1.
They used practical effects. They used animatronics. How long has it been since you've heard that name? Animatronics.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Godzilla's he's laying there, and you see a close-up of his face, and you see his eye open and move. That's the animatronics. The CGI is you see the flesh regrowing around the wound that it's on the side of his face. So not only were they using practical effects, they were using CGI, they were using animatronics. They pulled everything in the kitchen sink out to make that movie, and they did it on a budget. And it's to me, it's one of the best movies of the year, if not the best movie of the year.
Yeah, I was told
it's really great. Yeah.
I'm not a Godzilla fan, but I heard so much about it. I want to see the movie because it's a good movie, not because it's a Godzilla movie. Just because of all the people I trust, and it was like, look, it's not just Godzilla. There's extra bits in it that you don't normally see in a Godzilla movie that make the movie so much better. So what I was aiming for is that marrying between practical and CGI on a budget. And one of those things is preparing in advance, do the pre-production, storyboarding, know what you want to go. Even though the script in this movie and in the old 3 movies kept changing, the pre-production saved their asses.
Yes.
So they won't go fully on like
Which
crazy.
just as an aside, another film that did that this year, Loki, I obviously are aware of the Saw series, but Saw 10 had
Yeah.
such a minuscule budget. Half of the effects are done practically. Like, it's amazing.
You mean?
Saw 10.
Okay.
Saw
Saw
X.
X. Yeah, it's amazing what they got away with such a shoestring budget on. It's fantastic the way that they did that.
Well,
It actually makes
maybe
makes
next year in
Tom
October.
Savini like, oh, Tom Savini would be proud.
Yeah, I'm not a Godzilla fan at all.
Fan.
No, I said I'm not a Godzilla fan.
Hey, all I'm saying is, Loki, as long as there's no baby Godzilla there, we're okay.
Right. That's right.
We don't talk about baby Godzilla.
Yeah. Thank you, Victor. Thank you. Of
Or
course.
Millie Bobby Brown, for that matter.
Now, I want to touch upon, you said it at the start, how Pippin, well, you didn't like Pippin, but he does have a redeeming.
He has his redeeming moment where he goes, hey, no, you know what? No, we shouldn't go back to the Shire. I want to go south.
Yes. The moment where Pippin understands, well, they don't want to fight. They don't want to like intervene with Saruman, but they do need to see to understand the damage. So he purposefully takes him through Isengard and kind of forces Treebeard's hand at that point. I'm not sure the whole why Treebeard attacked Isengard. I don't remember how it went in the book. I just simply don't remember.
It was Fangorn. They had violated Fangorn Forest. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. They violated Fangorn Forest and he got pissed.
I don't remember when is the point where he calls the ants. I don't remember if it was in the Entmoot or later on. It certainly wasn't because of Pippin.
No.
I think he saw the devastation as he was putting them to where he needed to put them, but it wasn't Pippin. Let's just say that. And all they did was have a siege around Isengard to make sure nobody gets out. Yeah. So when Saruman dies, it's where when he was supposed to die, much later on.
Thanks, Paul.
Paul says in the book they went to war at the Entmoot.
Yeah, like I said, it was a different route, but yeah.
Just as an aside, I will have to give them credit for actually showing what, just Helm's Deep as an aside there, showing what they would actually try to do in siege warfare. Granted, they didn't have siege towers or anything, but actually utilizing the proper ladders and then actually trying to use sappers in order to undermine the integrity of the walls. It's like
scorpions, all that. Really, I would say medieval accurate as to
as best as it could be. Yeah, I mean the ballistas were a little bit off, or scorpions, they're a little bit off there. But again, like trying to utilize ladders, and then obviously in sapper charges, they weren't using trebuchets there. But obviously, like, come on. At a certain point, you got to kind of give them some credit. they're already extending a budget here.
The siege towers in Return of the King are absolutely breathtaking.
Yes,
I mean, I want to go up on the siege tower and be like, to war, we take the tower. And I want to ride that son-bitch in and drop that door and just run out of it, kicking, screaming, slicing, battle axes flying. Absolutely.
We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. I think
I was gonna say, Loki. I'm getting from you the same kind of vibe I get when it was the same when one of the characters mentioned Marv from Sin City. The poor bastard just had the dumb luck of being born in the wrong era.
Yeah.
He'd be right out there swinging an axe in somebody's face.
I want to move to Osgiliath. So in Osgiliath, again, we talked about the marrying of CGI and practical effects. Every time something like when the Nazgul come in and they kind of throw a big stone, Some of it is like miniatures along with CGI to make it look like it's breaking apart and all that.
Okay.
Um,
Mhm.
and kind of the moment Faramir discovers that the Frodo needs to go to destroy the ring, and he faces off with that dilemma: do I let Frodo go, or do I bring the ring to my father? And even his aide kind of tells him, well, if you release them, your life would be forfeit. And when he makes the decision, he's like, let it be forfeit then. Because the moment he realizes that, when Frodo kind of, no, not Frodo, when Sam yells at him, you know what really happened with Boromir? Yeah, he went for the ring, and that cost him his life. We
Yeah.
didn't want to, he didn't say it, but we didn't want to tell you to spare you this, but understand that your brother died because he was trying to get to that ring.
After
And
bowing to protect him. That was the thing. It was the bow. It
Yeah.
was him saying, after bowing to protect Frodo, he tried to take it from him. That's what broke through Boromir or Faramir's head, and was like, he would have never done that. He would have never gone against his vow to protect, especially a little being like this. He would have never tried to do anything like that.
Yeah.
That's not my brother.
And to me, that decision merits the whole little bit between the two brothers, because Faramir knew Boromir. He knew his quality. And as he realizes, and we realize, yeah, you have to let him go because it will destroy Gondor eventually if you do that, if you keep that ring. So he lets them go. And of course,
Just as an aside, real quick, Meph, just say the actor who played Theramir
Mm.
had to fly back to do the reshoots with Sean Bean.
Yes.
You know what film he was actually making at the time and getting absolutely cut for?
No.
300.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Oh,
the
yeah.
narrator.
Right.
Yeah,
the
he's the narrator in
Yeah.
300. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he frees
All
them up.
ties in together.
He frees them both up, and they start to go into the woods, and we have a little bit of inkling of what's to come as we see his
Gollum's breakdown.
devilish plan on, oh, she could do it. Now, if you've read the book, you know what's coming. But if you haven't, and you're like, what's in the tunnel? Now, if you rewind that, Faramir asks Gollum where does he want to go? And he tells them, well, we're going to go through the Minas Morgul, through that path, through that tunnel. And Faramir tells Frodo and Sam, he tells Smeagol, you know what's out there. And he tells Frodo and Sam, you know there's a danger there and you could be in trouble. But it's Frodo says, well, it's the only way. It's the only way to go in. And kind of leaves them hanging, but he doesn't know the real danger. And Faramir kind of knows, but he doesn't really tell them, oh, be careful, there's a massive spider going in.
Fuck off, spider, yeah.
It's let's say it's John Peters, saw this movie and was like, oh, they beat me to it.
My biggest complaint after I saw this was that they didn't go and actually do that, because at the end of Two Towers, the novel, you're left thinking that Frodo was dead and that Sam has to carry on without Frodo. Frodo is dead. He is deceased. He was killed by Shelob, and that's where the book leaves you. And when I believe I was 12, I was standing in a subway in New York, an actual subway, not a Subway sandwich shop, but an actual subway. And on the wall across from the ramp where you board the train, on the wall in big red paint, it said, Frodo lives on the wall. You want to talk about spoilers before there was ever any internet spoilers? In red paint, it said Frodo lives on the subway wall.
And
So,
right next to it said Fletch lives too. Okay.
I'm going back a few scenes.
As a bit, I love it. Like 42 to 43. No, it's 43. No, he was twitching because I had my axe in his face.
And when he touched the axe, the guy actually twitched, or it's a puppet twitched, whatever it is.
Embedded in his nervous system.
Yeah.
And the fact that what they did here and then carried over into this competition between a dwarf and an elf to solidify their friendship.
Yeah.
It's so goddamn important because it's a friendly rivalry that just blossoms into this whole thing. And we'll touch upon that when we get to
the fact that they constantly keep saving each other's lives, or how much they pretend to have this inherent hatred for one another's race, that they have this begrudging respect and then growing friendship that builds. It's like they are the Ozzy and Harriet of the Lord of the Rings.
That never changes. There are stories that go up to like I think 100 years after the trilogy ends. They still know each other. Gimli comes back and repairs the gates of Gondor that are broken by the wolf head. I can't remember its name right now, but Grond, which was supposed to be the hammer of Morgoth. That was supposed to be the hammerhead. Was that battering ram?
Yep.
Gimli comes back with more dwarves and Mithril from Moria and remakes the doors and lines the inside of the doors with Mithril so nothing can ever breach the gates of Gondor again. These guys continued this friendship for over 100 years until Aragorn passes away. And then it's kind of like, well, we don't really know what that much after that, but goes back into Moria. They do have more adventures, but there's not a lot of information.
It's all in the appendix, and the appendix is written just like the Silmarillion. Well, they just pour information on you.
Yeah.
And it mingles up, and then it moves on to tell you about there's a full section about they're telling you about the dwarves and the dwarves line, and it goes between the different Durins and all that stuff. So it's a lot of information, and it's dumped in like this much of a book.
And again, it's like reading the first parts of the Iliad, like he who begat, who begat, who begat, who begat. It's like
it's something like that. And then of course at the very, very end, literally Tolkien shows you how to speak in Elvish. Literally, it's not a dictionary, but he tells you which syllable is supposed to be which thing, and you're supposed to sort of incorporate a word. That's how Peter Jackson got the linguist guy to actually create this whole language, because some of it is in the book, and some of it is not. But you can actually create a full sentence because he left little breadcrumbs for you to follow. And I love this this is like an extra bit where they have that little
it might be one of his cousins.
Yeah, and they find the Toby. It's like, don't tell Treebeard. It's probably one of his cousins.
So don't exactly. But I love how at the end it just shows Treebeard looking at him like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
What are you? Yeah, he leans down, looks in. What are you doing?
Yeah, what's happening? And then the movie is over. I think, it's like.
Well, you see the clip of.
No. It goes to Frodo and Sam and the whole Smeagol bit where you can see him overtaken by Gollum. It's not Smeagol
Sam
anymore.
does have that good soliloquy, and then before the Theramir's the Theramir releases them, and then they have Sam and Frodo talking about like, oh well, the noble stories, and like our children's children hearing the stories of Frodo. Oh, please tell me the story of Frodo. Like, no, I want to hear the story about Sam Wise the Brave, and
it kind of harkens to the end of Return of the King, the movie.
Yeah.
There were about a dozen of us that walked out of Two Towers opening night. And I was the only one of my friends that had read the books, and I immediately, as soon as we got out of the theater, I'm being asked what happens. Everybody's looking at me because I had the map.
Right.
I had the map up on the wall. I had this cloth map of Middle Earth up on the wall back then.
You mean wait? I'm gonna fuck up my camera.
Oh yeah, it's the old map that you had up. Yeah,
You mean
there it is.
this map?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cloth and a lot bigger. It's like a tapestry. And I've still got it. It's just in the game room now. It's not in my office. And what happened? What happened? I'm like, do you really want to know? Or do you want to wait? I'm like, because there's things I know that I wish I didn't know, because I love coming to these movies and I love seeing these movies now. I almost don't want to know what's going to happen. And like getting the elves coming to Helm's Deep, that was a wonderful surprise. I always felt like the elves should have done more. Yeah, my people are leaving this shore, but you also agreed to be in this alliance with the humans and the dwarves. So stand up and honor that. And they did that. They did that in this movie.
And it literally comes from sort of blending in the dream sequence with Aragorn and Arwen, where when it's not that dream sequence, when it's Galadriel and Elrond kind of going back and forth, talking about what the ring is and who Aragorn is. It is that conversation between Elrond and Arwen when Arwen wants to stay, and Elrond says, "Well, you have to go because you don't understand the sorrow you bring yourself by loving this man." And her telling there's still hope. It's hope. It's something to fight for, which leads him into sending Haldir and sending that company, so the humans, the men of the West, will have hope.
Well,
sorry, Logan.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead. You sure?
Well, no, I was just curiously like, now was the dream sequence that shows the backstory between Arwen and Elrond and Aragorn actually part of the original theatrical cut, or was it just in the extended cut?
Ooh, I don't remember.
Because I could see that being part of the extended cut, and then it would make sense then if they were to actually include Arwen going to Helm's Deep.
I think
Loki, because that would kind of make sense, like her wanting to go.
Some of it is in the theatrical because it leads to why the elves are there in the first place. I think there's I think the conversation between Elrond and Arwen is there. It's shortened, and then she walks away, and I don't think he has that conversation back and forth with Galadriel in the theatrical, but you do see him thinking about it, and then after that, we see the elves going there. I'm pretty sure. Again, I haven't seen the
I'm just curious because I could see then like them having the conversation between Galadriel and Elrond. Then that's the reason why the elves go in the theatrical cut. Now with everything with Arwen, her going to Helm's Deep and having her in the battle at Helm's Deep would make more sense than when she got cut, Loki, as you mentioned. Interesting.
If you want something super interesting, if you ever wondered what happened to Arwen after Aragorn dies, because you've got that premonition from Elrond, he's going to die, and you're going to wander, and you're going to wander for the end of time, and blah 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 blah. Remember that hobbits are the most invisible creatures in Middle Earth. That's why it was perfect for Frodo and Bilbo to have the ring. They can move unseen. That you never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Sam picks up a seed in Fellowship when they're in Mirkwood, and it's a tree seed. It's like a nut, and he takes that back to the Shire, and he plants it. He plants this tree from the forest, one of the ones that Galadriel was taking care of. All those trees that she was taking care of die, every single one of them, because the elves aren't there to water them. They all leave. When Aragorn dies and Arwen starts to wander, she eventually makes her way to the Shire, and she finds the tree that Mary planted the seed for. And that tree opens and takes her to the Undying Lands. So it takes her to her father, and it takes her to Galadriel, and it takes her to all of her elven people. Even though all the boats are gone, and he said, if you stay, that's going to be it. Something a hobbit did was completely unseen by Elrond and by Galadriel.
Oh, okay.
I don't even remember that. What I remember, we'll talk about it next week. I've got something for next week, but
a couple weeks, but yeah.
it has to do with the endings. But
Okay.
I'll have to read up. Fuck.
Now you got to go back and do your homework.
I love these books so much, but I don't have time to do everything. But yeah, it's a special kind of thing where I'm talking on the whole here. It's a special kind of thing where you do an adaptation and you do stick to the bullet points of the book, but you do but you understand that you're creating something cinematically, and that whole rearrangement of the episodes on where everything lies keeps everything fresh. It's a 4-hour movie, but it's literally sort of 3 movies in one, where you have the Frodo, Sam, Gollum story, you have the Merry and Pippin story, and we have the Aragorn, Helm's Deep story. Now, some of them are intermingling because of Gandalf, and I'm sorry. But it mostly stays within that confines, and we're moving from story to story. And if you get bored a little bit with one, after 20 minutes, we're moving on to another 20 minutes of something else. So constantly moving, keeping it fresh, and you want to know more. You always left on this little mini cliffhanger that wants you to keep going and moving on to the next part and the next part and the next part. And it is less in Fellowship, but it's more in the Two Towers, and in it comes back to being sort of like that in Return of the King.
Jackson had a whole team. He had a whole team that went through everything, and he told them, I want to know how events progress time-wise. I don't care what it says, what chapters they are in the book. I need a timeline of this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. We have to compress some stuff or skip over something. We can do that, but I need a timeline from start to finish where all the events are in order. And that's when he said, we went over it, we went back and forth, and we all decided this is how there's like a whole hour special on just the timeline of the movie and how they decided we're gonna go event time-wise, not chapter time-wise.
Yeah, and they wanted Helm's Deep as a sort of focal point. It's a big battle. We want it as a focal point at closer to the end of the movie rather than being at the start. And they could develop Grima. They could develop that whole tale of Saruman washing over the land of Rohan, and that whole bit with Éomer and him coming back around because he does love Rohan. He does want to follow Theoden, but he wants the good Theoden, the brave Theoden, not the thing that was sitting in the chair, right?
Yeah.
He will follow his king to wherever he takes him because he wants that. And of course, came over at the end and became such a big part of why they prevailed at the end. But yeah, moving over Shelob to Return of the King, and because they were going back and forth, they could have that mini little cliffhanger and going off to a different area and following that timeline.
Well, I think it's actually kind of, well, I know it's kind of disappointing for, especially you guys that read the books, but for, as just, again, someone who hasn't really read the books in depth so well, to me, it was kind of good the way that they ended it, the way that they did, leading into, because kind of led things off on a positive note. Like, yes, everything is in a very, very sad state of affairs, but there is still kind of a positive outlook. There's still menacing figures around, even in their own encampments, especially Gollum and Smeagol. But there's still this kind of somewhat optimism.
Just because the extended cut, because in the theatrical cut, what you were left with is the same ending you were left with the extended cut is Sam and Frodo kind of being hopeful, but you have that gnawing little thing with Gollum.
No, and that's perfectly fine.
With Pippin and Merry, you've got sort of a happy ending of, yes, we won Helm's Deep, we won against Isengard, and Faramir releases Frodo to continue on his mission. So yeah, it is kind of a happy-ish ending, but it does end up with a sour note of Gollum at the end.
Well, no, that's supposed to. There's supposed to be some kind of menace, because there has to be a greater threat leading you into the third film. Otherwise, they're just gonna make it there. Okay,
is it a fool's hope? Like Gandalf said, is it a fool's hope? It's a fool's hope.
Yeah.
Mary or Frodo and Sam think, well, we're on our way and we're going to do this and we're going to destroy the ring. And in Gandalf's own words, it may just be a fool's hope. And we know that as the audience, but they don't know that.
Yeah. Well, that we also get the kind of intuition coming. Well, we as the audience are getting the intuition that Frodo is getting, that he knows this journey is going to kill him from the conversation between Galadriel and Elrond.
Yeah. And by the way, the guy next to Bernard Hill isn't actually Carl Urban.
No, it's not
that way, but it's not him.
No,
it's a
cheeks are wrong.
Yeah, it's a stand-in.
Yeah.
I was
going to say, if it were to end sorry, back to my original point. If it were to end the way it were to end with the books, with Frodo being potentially dead, so you're going to end with another potential character death?
Yes, exactly.
Shelob's
It harkens back to Fellowship of the Ring, where it's not the very end, but you have that cliffhanger of, did Gandalf die or not?
Yeah.
Well, you had Boromir's death. You did get a death.
Yeah, it's not the full Boromir, but he actually
died. Yeah. It was for real, not for play.
Yeah. But to be fair, if you leave it on a cliffhanger where Frodo dies, it's him dying, not, because you know how it played out in Return of the King, you kind of know what's going on, but yeah,
but now we had
forever.
But this would be like the fourth fake out death in one movie. It's like, you really can't pull that.
No. All right. That kind of brings us to the end, along with my voice that died about an hour and a half ago.
Oh, brother.
But it happens. It is what it is. All right. Loki, please tell us where people can find you.
You can find me over on Loki's Mornings of Mischief. I'm there Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time every day, and we do a Friday night late show at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. Find me over there.
Awesome. And you will be returning along with the King for us to finish in about a couple of weeks. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, please grab yourself a copy of Batman Returns, because it's time for Christmas. And there's nothing like Christmas like Max Shrek.
That is a very, very chubby Danny DeVito. Wait, isn't that just Danny DeVito?
Quack, quack, quack.
Quack, quack, quack.
Meow. No, grab yourself a copy
and
of
not Batman, Eartha Kitt.
Batman
Even
Returns,
though she fought for
it. Shut up. Batman Returns, 1992. Tom Connors will be here with me to celebrate Christmas. Now, I'm not going to celebrate it, but he's going to celebrate it. And a surprise guest who is tentative at the moment, but if he'll show up, it'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
Feelings? No? You
last thing's,
right?
Loki, thanks again for joining us, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to talking to you again about Return of the King in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what other props you're going to show for us next week.
And ladies and gentlemen, before my voice really gives out, please subscribe to the channel, like, comment, all that good stuff. Watch my review of an Israeli movie that is intended for an Israeli audience, but suddenly everybody wants to watch it.
It's actually really funny.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm not going to pull everything up. Comment section down below for suggestions for next year. We're taking notes. We've got something lined up, but we're taking notes. So please, please do. And remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. I'll see you next week.
You're still here? It's over.